Tampa, queen of the creek, built on faith and dreams. Yeah, the roots run deep, turning dirt to gold, watch the homestead gleam. Hard work, real life, this ain't just a theme. Up with the sun, I don't waste time. Boots in the mud, gotta hustle, gotta grind. Crafting and growing, yeah, make it shine. Turning little into plenty, watch me redefine.
Every stitch, every seed, every plan I lay ain't just a hobby, it's a whole new way.
Tampa, queen of the creek, built on faith and dreams. Yeah, the roots run deep, turning dirt to gold, watch the homestead gleam. Hard work, real life, this ain't just a theme.
Hi guys, it's your girl Pam. I am on my way to my first calligraphy class. Stay tuned.
I am pulling up to my destination, which is the library. It is a nice library, guys. This is where I'm going to take my class next. See you soon. Walking up to the library, guys. I am so excited about taking this calligraphy class. Oh, I hope it's everything that I am thinking it's going to be. Amazing.
So guys, we're getting ready to start the class in a minute, and then I'm gonna flip my camera around so we can see what we're doing.
I highly encourage you, if you like the class, to fill out the survey. If you don't like the class, just walk past that survey. But we find it to be a real joy as a calligraphy guild to help educate and create more calligraphers, because we are really wackadoo, crazy about letters, and we really want other people to be. And just understanding the lost art of handwriting, it really feels more important that people really use this hand-eye coordination and use these hand skills to keep this kind of art form alive, because as you know, it costs a lot of money to get all these signs and all these other things made, and if you can whip out a pretty, poster for a wedding, or you can do name tags or all of that, it's really just kind of a fun and personal way to enrich, just little moments of your life. Now today, we are teaching foundational. Now I will tell you, foundational is not a sexy hand. It is not. There's nothing about this that you're gonna go, oh my gosh, I love foundational. However, foundational is a foundation. And foundations are critical in any kind of sport or anything you want to learn in your life, or any kind of art form, is to learn the basics. Because from those basics, you can expand and do many other things. I highly recommend this book by Sheila Walters that really focuses a lot on foundational, and goes into italic, which is kind of the next progression from foundational. I wanted to also tell you another really great and super inexpensive buy is the Speedball handbook. They've been making the Speedball handbook for years and years and years, and it is always a classic and something great to have as a reference piece, especially because it shows you so many different types of hands. And on the note of saying hands, when we look at our computer and we pick a font is a mechanical and a computer-driven style. A hand means it's hand done. And so in calligraphy, we always refer to our alphabets as hands. And just to show you an example of ways you can use it, so it is all foundational around the edges, but in the middle, this is a, what is this? I can't even tell you, and I did it. It is, I'm going to say it's more of a black letter, a tard style in the middle. I'm really notorious for not knowing what I'm doing, but I do it really well. And just for funsies, I had to show you, so I did this children's book this year, and I used foundational for all the list pages of all the words. So foundational is a super good alphabet to use when you want to get a message across clearly and very legibly. So I highly recommend that you embrace this basic hand lettering style. Now, today we have given you zig markers to use, and the library would like them back at the end of the class, just FYI. These zig markers are two-sided. One, if you can see in the tiny little print, it says 0.05 or 5.0, and the other says 2.
It will show you all the other classes that we're teaching, anything that's being taught at a library. You can just call the library and get on their list.
Now, how you hold a calligraphy pen is what makes all the difference in how you get your fix and pens, and that's what makes the handwriting look elegant. And so for this particular hand, you'll see at the top of one of these sheets, it'll say we're doing it at a 30-degree angle. So let's do, here is this. So if we want it, this is at 90 degrees. So at 30, we're going to be more like this, which means when you need to, on the top of all your pages, on the black and the blue, it shows your pen angle right there. It shows you there, and you can always go back and put your pen tip there and just take it over and go, oh, that's 30 degrees. Because the trick is you want your bottom and your top to have that kind of angle on it at all times. So we're going to just start right now with doing a fence line. And I just want you to do line after line. Now, the other thing that people have a tendency to do is not put even pressure on your pen nib. And the end of this, if you don't have it nice and flat, you're going to get wobbly, you're going to get lines that look like that. So I want you just to make a nice 10 in a row, lines like that.
Can you talk about the lines on your paper, what they mean?
Oh, yes. So when you go to write, you always start with a baseline. And the baseline on your sheet, so if you can see, these are line, I'm not even on the page now. So this is your baseline.
So on your sheet, you have a line here that tells you where the actual letter goes.
And that's the one you want to stay on for this because it is 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 pin nib width height. And that is where you want your letters to live, the bodies of your letters to live in here. Now when you do ascenders, they'll go up to there, and you do descenders, they go to here. Don't try to save this paper like, use the actual lines that you're supposed to be drawing on because you will be drawing your letters at the wrong size if you're doing it on this line and this line. You need to be doing it here.
So before we showed you that.
So we just did our fence posts.
That's
And if you feel good with your fence posts, all your fence posts have about a 30-degree angle on all your tops and bottoms.
And that's what goes.
Now I want you to take that same 30 degrees, and this is where you can use the ascender and descender lines, because this is just practice, is I want you just to draw a line across. As you notice, it's going to be a little thinner than if I would have gone like that with the whole pen. So we're doing a 30-degree across. So that is wrong, just so you understand. So all of your ends should have those, should look like that. And then next we're going to do the other tricky maneuver, and I want you to do the tricky maneuver in what do we call that? The baseline, that sector, the sector right here. I can't even remember. But I want you to do a curve. And practice doing your curve, and then take your curve the other direction. At that 30-degree angle, just to get used to how your pen is working. So you'll notice you're naturally going to be thinner in those two areas. And so when you start making O's and I can't think what other letter is round. C's and E's and Q's and D's. These thicks and thins will show up in those. So does anybody not feel comfortable with just these basics? Okay, Susanna, when you're done, can you assist
Right here?
the green hat?
Oh, okay. If I'm thin, so
You're supposed
to opposite of what you're saying. Thin on the top.
Well, you should be thin on the top.
Because that's so thick.
You might be at too strong of an angle.
Hold it up a little.
Watch.
Yeah, so if you're going to need to move your hand up like that so that the whole letter ran on the paper. You can practice with that.
There you go.
I'm going up here, I wasn't making the top curve.
Yeah, right there. Okay, now that we've jumped into those, we're going to start with doing the I's, the L's, the J's. They'll start with those kind of basic letters. Grab a marker and sit anywhere you like. And get a darker marker. So we're going to start with the I. Now the I, the one thing about this alphabet, it's got this really charming little serif at the top. So the serif you make by doing a little curve, and then you stop, and you go back, and you meet at the top of that line and come down, and just curve it gently. And you notice that I'm going to do it again. There's a serif, and then you're pulling straight down, and you're giving it just a small kick. Now notice how slow I'm going. The one thing I notice people do a lot and make mistakes in calligraphy is they're in a race. Calligraphy is really a much slower process than you think until you get super ass good, which I'm not even that good yet, and I've been doing it forever, and you can go much faster. But you make mistakes when you go fast, so just take that curve and pull it down. And the reason I'm going to really focus on this little serif is because that little cute serif shows up in all our letters. Not all, but a lot of our letters.
So, when you have there's your 30-degree angle, right? That matches.
So as soon as you feel like you've got that, let's just make a taller one. So that would be the L. So
when I go make it
got
straight,
your-
it comes down like that.
I have
And
no
if I go straight over,
why I can't think of it's the X height.
it's kind of thick, but it's going to
So
be
this
thinner
is called the X
than
height.
that because
So
of
as
the angle of
soon,
my
so we're
paper.
going to do that, and then we're going to
So
go
then,
and
when
do
I
the
make
center,
my
which
circle,
is the L. So we're going to do our little curve up here,
It's going to be
and then
thinner
we're going to
here
pull it straight
because of
down.
my angle.
And we're going to give
coming
it just
up.
a little.
See how it changes
the
with
bottom.
that? And
Now, when
keeping
you
your
use
pen.
tools other than
down,
markers,
which is good.
like you
So
use
you're
finer
doing that.
calligraphy pens,
Okay, so you
these
just
kind
want to
of
keep
things
checking
will
your
be
angle.
a lot sharper. You'll
Okay.
get a lot crisper
So
edge.
if you
Markers
put
are
this
just easy to
like
teach
above
with,
your paper,
and that's what
as
you're
you're
using.
working, you can say, okay, there's my angle.
But your results will be
You come down
a
and then you
lot
make your
more
mark.
dramatic when you
Until you
use
get used to it.
a parallel pen or an automatic pen. And I wish automatic meant that it did it for you. It really doesn't.
Can I interject something real quick?
Yes, you may.
So, with your practice paper, if you put your exemplar near it, you can take your pen up and check your pen angle as you're going along. And that kind of helps you until you can eyeball and kind of get a feel for whether you're going too steep or too flat. But if you keep that nearby where you're lettering, that helps you double check your pen angle. Thank you. Because every alphabet requires different pen angles, believe it or not. Because some of them, the pen is flatter and you make much broader strokes. Like italic, you can push it up more because you're doing a more spiky, kind of more dramatic effect. So after the L, we're going to dive into the J, which, go ahead and check your pen angle again. So I'm going to check here, I'm going to pull it down, I'm going to do my cute little serif, and then I'm going to pull straight down to the descender line and pull it over. And to do a J, you can leave it like that, but most of the time you come back in and meet it. Does that make sense? So we'll do this again. It's really important that you get the straight lines figured out early because they're the easiest and they'll make your lettering look the best. I will say I can tell everyone here grew up in an era where they learned how to hold a pen. I have taught groups of teenagers and they are doing this and this and this. I'm like, who are you people? And so they get really feisty and they don't really want to follow the rules. And I'm like, it's just like any tool. You don't hold a hammer by the claw. You hold it by the handle. You need to hold your tools properly, and that will help. Okay, now we're going to do the other basic shape, which is the O. And do not be afraid of the O. The one thing about the foundational alphabet is you can look at it, and it is a very round alphabet. The letters are very round, so when you do these, you want, like we were doing your curves earlier, you're going to take it like that, and you're going to do your second stroke, and pull it around like that. I think I stole yours. Yes.
I'm having trouble with the J, the end, the tail.
Okay, I'll go back. So the one thing too I didn't really talk about is the angle. This is a very up and down alphabet, so I don't want your J's to look like that, and I don't want your J's to look like that. Let's do it this. We're going to pull it down, and we're going to curve it over just a hair, and then we're going to come back and meet it in. And it says, the one thing on both these sheets, you have what are called a ductus, which shows you the order in which you should do you should write your lines. And you can always go against the ductus, but the ductus is smart. It's kind of like not listening to your navigation system and thinking you know better. Siri does have some experience. Well, I don't know if it's experience, but she's well programmed. Okay, I'm going to go back to that O because it's really important that you get a nice, round, juicy O. Oh, good. So we're going to do O again. And then we're going to move on. So Susanna, am I going at a good rate of speed? No, you're good. Are people behind or ahead? I haven't been paying attention because I've been quit to people. I'll pay attention. What are people One person was confused about the serifs a little bit. Again, ascenders, descenders, we didn't really hit on that from the get-go, so I'm catching up with that. Okay. So, yes, I'm going to go back. We have a 30-degree pen angle. Okay. We have the X height. You're not keeping your hand. And this is where the ascenders live. They go up to here. And the descenders are where these letters go there. But now we're doing the X height because next we're going to do the C. Can you see? So we're going to take the C and pull it around. But you have to hold, And then pull the you're a top little bit steep. and just stop. Isn't that beautiful? So when you come down, and it's very cute. You put it on this side. When you come down, and then go across. This will be better than this because of my angle. But you want to keep your pen flat on the paper. And that's harder than this. Because you have a tendency to want to get. Susanna, should I just go back over the basic? Yeah, I would. Okay, so.
Paper.
And
You'll
here,
see where these lines are.
Yeah, I know that.
and see how straight up and down they are?
You're doing fine. Okay, thanks. Very good. And really, you are too. You just aren't, your pen just isn't flat. That's your big issue. So just practice making.
Yeah, just trust that the pen, yes.
I do this left-handed. Do I hold
Better.
it kind of from above?
You know what, left hand, let me show you what it advises in this book. Left hand, usually you move your paper differently. Screwing up.
So you're doing good.
Well,
You're doing good.
see,
You show you.
Okay.
Me to the head.
So you want to check your email?
and then in the end, she says hair.
Okay.
So that would be not. So if you write it like this, they were different.
Yeah, guys, hers is doing good. Mine looks like a kid did it.
After B, we're gonna move to P. So P is, again, we're a cute little serif, and we're gonna pull it down through the center line. Now, there's a couple different ways to do P's. You can
This is where the body of
do the bottom like that,
letters.
or
So we're working on B. That will be.
I have to finish it just because I have to.
And then
There's a lot of strokes to a B.
fills this area.
Or you can give it, when you stop here, and then you just run across the bottom. I feel it's really out of character to do that one, so I don't do it very often, but you can. And you'll find in a lot of these different books that you can check out, there's more than one. As we move on
Think
to
round
D,
like this, so this is gonna be a little bit.
D is a little different because we are
But, and then
kind of
this
starting like the
is gonna
O,
start down here so that you can have that round.
and then we're coming back and putting the top of the O, and then you're having a lot of faith that your
Same thing with your P, you'll start,
line is gonna meet.
start a little bit
People
so
get
that you
really
come up and
afraid,
kiss that
and it
line and then you
magically
come
somehow
around.
your hand knows, and it
But
can.
you've got it, you just need to.
Perfect.
Just keep intersecting.
Thank you.
Again. So you're doing the C. And then you're doing a serif. I do the serif first, you do not have to. And pulling it down, and just giving it just a little lift at the bottom. I probably could have, this could be higher up. I don't wanna get moving too fast, so. I'm judging everything. Okay, I'm going on to the never used Q, or the rarely used Q, but it, again, is kind of like the C again, because you're going around, you're going over. Now, this one does not have a serif per se. It is just, you're curling it over like it's a serif, but not really. And I do the Q at the bottom. I do not, again, I'm not into the flat bottoms. And it's just, that's a personal preference. I'm gonna do the G next. Are you guys ready for me to move on to the G? Are you feeling it? The G is the, I can't even think of a nice word to describe the G. It's kind of challenging. So what you're doing is you're making a small O at the top, and then you're gonna swing it over and around, and then come back and meet it and put a flag on it. So the biggest thing is, so here is, so you can see the lines. So the G lives in this tiny little space up here, and then he goes down and around. Does that help?
You do one more, please.
Yes, no problem. Yeah, cause it's a double. There we go. So we're gonna do a little O, And then I'm gonna take from that skinny point, my pen is going over and around and through. And if I was good, this really should be fatter. G's are really hard.
Should the bottom bowl be directly underneath the other?
Well, yes, and it should be more ovally than I'm making it. Well, and that looks too much. See, this is why I don't do them the proper way. But yeah, even I who do these a lot, it's still. And as I say, the biggest thing, as long as you keep pretty consistent, because that's what I found really hard in that alphabet book. I'm doing letters that are all on top of each other because it's all A's, and then the next page is all B's. So that's a lot of making all your A's and all your B's and all your other letters look the same. It's kind of challenging, but you need them to look like they live together, like they're a family. Does everybody feel great about the G?
Top part's not bad.
Yeah, the top, yeah, focus on the top and get that top down, because that's, and then we're just gonna do it one more time. We're gonna take it, and we're just gonna make it go over and back, around. And this too comes with practice, because I know what to anticipate, and you guys are all doing this for the first time, so it's not intuitive. And the more you look up and down and up and down and up and down, it gets harder. So I get it. I'm going to do it another time because I really feel like you want this G to be perfect. Over and back. And that one got a little thin, but you know what? It's a G.
If you've got the idea, you're cramming yourself in there. You need another piece of paper.
And it's funny because even though you're curving it, a lot of times when you do it, it looks like and this thing here ends up looking like a straight line, but it's really not. It ends up being like that. So.
Who's running out of paper?
So let's just look at the bottom part of this letter, is doing that.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Sure.
This one is smaller, this one bigger. I know. That's what
We're talking.
exactly this size is good, a little bit bigger.
Okay.
And then here is too long. Here is too long.
You've got all the.
You can shorter here.
And then this one.
Okay.
You will write twice. This first and then here. Two.
Okay.
Short, smaller, a little bit. So if
All right.
that bigger, another one is bigger.
Okay, we're gonna go to one of the more used letters in the alphabet, which is the A. The A in this alphabet is done several different ways. I like the conventional way, but it is, now notice we haven't done the stroke yet. So we're over and we're pulling it straight down and doing that. Let's just start with that part of the A.
And then.
Because this foundation of the A is going to make a big difference when you go back and do your next movements, which is the bottom of the A, and then pulling the top over. Bottom of the A, boom. I've seen some people do this alphabet where they use the A and they come down and they round it like that. I find it looks so different than all the other letters that I don't typically use it, but it's not uncommon to see that. Does everybody feel good about A? Yes. So let's do that. And I kind of like doing a couple of these just, and then we do stroke 2, stroke 3, stroke 2, stroke 3. In theory, this one's too big because it's going too far outside that line. This one is a little closer. You don't want to get, you can go beyond it, but this is more ideal when you just barely go over it. I'll do A again. The one thing too, if you're having trouble, the one thing that can help is just to make sure your feet are planted on the ground in front of you, and you're kind of, you're more, and I'm really notorious for getting all cocked up when I do this, but to kind of have a straight on stance, because if you're jacked around in your chair, your letters will get, you'll start turning with your body. So the more straight and facing forward you are, it does help, because it helps when you pull your letters straight, everything pulls straighter. We're going to go on to the S. The S is really interesting. When you look at your exemplar, it looks like it's pretty wavy, but it's actually straighter than you think. So when you're doing this, you're doing a little curve at the top, and pull that line pretty straight, and then you curve it again. And then you go back in and put a bottom and a top on it. So we'll do that again. You're going here. There. But that is a fairly straight line. It's not, people when they do S's start getting really wavy, and you really need to keep your base of that A or S straighter.
We were just looking at it, this is almost straight, although it's not, but.
And I'm making them too big for the space, which I'll start again.
Kind of like the top of your sleeve. Yeah, and really kind of more, make them so, same thing with those connectors.
Does everybody S's look like this? I'm gonna do another one. We're gonna go across, make another little hook, and then we'll pull it over. On each side.
My A's and my S's. Might be a little bit more J's. Okay. This, it looks like you're going off a little bit.
Really nice. Great job.
Now you're gonna go through a break where all of these letters are so much nicer.
Shorter.
So, because we're gonna, I'm gonna circle back and do as many of these letters as you need me to do over again. And then, so we'll get through the whole alphabet. And then we'll go over all the letters that you guys have more questions on. And then I'm gonna have you write a sentence.
Mine are always 2 and 1.
And that really will help you know where you're landing on this. Because that's the other trick too. The one thing is, there's one thing to learn the letters, but then you also have to understand the relationship and how the letters live next to each other so they look correct. And that's the Speedball book is really good about diving into that. Okay, we're gonna do an N. So our fancy little serif, Then we're gonna draw our line straight down. Now this one has a curve at the bottom. And then you're gonna go and do around and down. This is kind of the A actually. There's a little bit of how the A lives in that. You wanna make sure that you have a nice space between, because again, we're trying to make most of these letters look roundish. Oh, you know what I did wrong? I taught you the L wrong. Oh my God. Okay, we'll just get back to that later. I'm just remembering. Never mind. Okay, and then we're gonna do the H, which is just like a large N. So you're gonna go down, hook that up, take this around, down, no.
Your students are working very hard
I
and doing
know.
very well.
Everybody looks so diligent.
I know.
I don't know how to pace myself.
You're doing okay. Everybody's keeping us to you now.
Down, little mark. Down, connect again,
Nice hands.
down. And again, you would like to keep these as equal as you can, because it'll make the M look happy.
When you get a straight line. You're at the point where you're gonna make a letter and you're gonna say, oh, that one turned out well, and it gives you a little thrill when you do it. That's why you do it for 30 years, you're looking for those little thrills every now and then.
Okay, I'm gonna do the M again, just because I like everything. I think what you're doing, and the U does not start with a serif.
You're being mean to your letter. That's how I wanna be, but this is how the letter was. Okay.
This, and then this part needs the serif, which you're gonna go around.
Just
Down.
think round.
Up. Now, if you do this and things don't meet, you can just dab a little line in there and make it connect. No one will know but you. So we're gonna do it around, they're doing a little curve. It's like you're doing the serif, but not really.
It's hard. Getting a little fancy there. Think straight there. Those little serifs need to be minute. Oh, you did it here. Look how you did it right here. That's exactly what I done. Good job.
Susanna, do we have any more paper?
I can hear you.
Do we have any more paper?
A little bit.
Now we're moving into the land of K. So K starts out like an L,
So this is very
and then
horizontal.
I want you to,
You're very, so you need to make it wider.
and then you start a little below it, and you meet. And I don't always touch it, because when you touch it, it ends up putting,
So, and then you.
it makes it kind of blobby there. So, if if it fits there, just barely kiss it. Or you can just leave a smidge of space. So we'll do the K again with our nifty little serif. Down, give it a wee kick. Go around. And I just really am not a fan of touching it down. We'll just do
A little smaller.
doesn't matter. That's perfect. So now we're gonna move on to the R. The R, again, is easy. The one thing I don't understand, but it shows through in all the alphabets, is that's one of the few letters that doesn't get that extra flip at the bottom. That tends to always, in all the alphabets I've ever seen of it, it just shows up truncated. But what it does, so it has the R like that, or you can give it a wave, which the wave seems kind of out of character based on all the other letters in the alphabet, but it's an option. I want you to have all your options. Is that better?
No, up near,
Yeah, I can see the shadowings.
maybe we need to close that.
Yeah, I can do it. I can
Because
see
it
the
would just
12.
stop the second change.
Oh, I am shadowing. Sorry. Okay, now why is this, yeah. Oh, there it goes. Now it's getting lighter again. Nice. Okay, thank you. Okay, now we're gonna move on to T. So T does not get a serif. T barely goes above the X height and kicks around. Now, see how little of it goes above that line? People tend to make their T's too tall, and that makes all the alphabets look weird. All the T's are short in almost every alphabet that I can think of. That every hand I can think of in all the different lettering styles. So just as a rule of thumb, but right below that X height line, you will do your crossbar and make sure your crossbar, you can actually make your crossbar thinner than 30 degrees if you want it to look a little more elegant by flipping it and just making it a skosh narrower, and you do that by just flattening your pen out a little bit. So we'll do that again. We're gonna do 30 degrees down and around, and then I'm just gonna flatten it just a skosh because I feel like this looks too heavy. And it doesn't really say on any of the sheets to do that, but that's just a little trick from an insider.
So you're not using your lines when you says you use them. That's where all this letters should be. Yeah, I was doing it.
So the F is another letter that we're going to, start its curve up there, and we're gonna go down, give it a little tail.
It's even on the shape again.
And it's a very flat And then again, maybe make the crossbar just a little bit thinner than 30.
So, what are you making? Oh,
So your
yeah.
exemplar shows your F like that with this crossbar at the bottom. Again, I
So
have
here.
mixed emotions on it.
Right, and then it's just a very small mark. And then you come down and kind of fill it in to make this point. Oh, the other thing you can do, no, it's two. So I'm making the serif first here. And then I come back and trace over that. Or you can go down and come back.
I can see why they gave it that flat bottom
Try that,
sometimes, because it does make it look like it sits.
Good job.
You've got some great letters there.
So I'm gonna do the F
Wider
again.
and rounder. See, look how generous. Plump, plump, plump. Think round, round, round. This is a very round hand.
Well,
Can
thank
you
you.
tell how much you've gotten the hang of it?
Yes.
In a very short time, so think how, where you'll be in another 10 years.
Perfect.
You'll, yes.
Okay, I'm gonna take just 1 minute and I want everyone to put their order. 5. So we're gonna do a V. And a V, you're just gonna do a hook, you go like you normally do a V. And then you're gonna just do a little circle at the top and come back and meet it. So the look of this is important, is to have this end up being nice and thin because you kept it your 30-degree angle, and that consistency will come, it will naturally do that as you pull your pen across. And the W, Susanna?
Yes.
You have a fan over there?
Paper?
I got some more up here.
Do you?
Yeah, she brought some more.
Yeah, we've got spare place.
Okay, now we're gonna do the W, which is,
Anybody?
so we're gonna do that, we're gonna pull it down, and I don't put as big of a curve on this one because you're gonna come back and meet it.
Anybody else need paper? Okay, you said you had more?
Yes, she gave me some more, it's not quite the same size,
Oh,
but
it'll do.
it'll be fine.
Will the letters look better on this paper?
Yes, by far, everybody's gonna.
Your
like
letters
it.
are gonna be perfect off of this.
So we're gonna do the W again, where we come up, and we are not making as big of a curve as we do for the V, but just a little one, enough where we meet it at the top.
Anybody else?
And
Walk right by you.
there's tons of online classes that you can take, and what's really good is to supplement them as much as you can find for in-person classes, because what Suzanne is doing is really super helpful, because when you do it online, you don't really have somebody to go, oh, you're going down a rabbit hole. You stop and straighten this out and get this fixed, and so on and so forth, so you can kind of develop some bad habits. So it's nice to be able to supplement with real people in real time to get some of your mistakes straightened out. Okay, X. X is a strong, straight pull with a little flip. I gotta look at this X. I have such mixed emotions about X's.
I don't write any words with X.
I know, it's like, I'm trying to avoid the G these days. Anyway, so the X, and so the way they say to do this is that stroke 1, then from the middle you do stroke 2, and then from the bottom up you do stroke 3. And that's all I have to say about that.
Miss, why do they separate stroke 2 and 3 instead of making it one fluid motion?
I am not certain. I think it's because, well, let me try it and let's see what the problems we run into.
I
And
think you're dealing with your push and pull.
yeah, because you're coming up. In theory, you can. I'm not real, that's a great question, and sometimes it's just somebody devised it to do it this way. Sometimes things you can break the rules.
How did you use 3 again? You said 1, 2, is 3 going up?
I'm sorry, I missed the question.
Can you do the X again?
Oh, sure.
Please.
Okay, yes, so I'm doing a curve and I'm going straight and I'm doing another little curve. Then I'm gonna do, as our friend suggested, taking it up and stopping. I think it's because you can't get the motion without your hand getting whopper jawed.
I have noticed effect this X a lot, and
So let's do it again, we'll do it.
Laura,
Yes?
a comment from back here.
I was gonna say, I've noticed I do practice X's a lot in different styles. It's really hard to get consistent when you do it in one solid motion.
Mm-hmm.
So splitting it just improves consistency for me.
There
It
we go.
also has to do with your push and pull, because you've got that foot at the bottom.
Because, yeah, you're doing
Going
a,
from the bottom to the top, but I don't think you could go from top to bottom as easily.
no, and also I find even when I do it, I hesitate in the middle. And that got too high because that went above the line.
You like Huntington? Is that what you, Talk a little bit about the strokes relating to push and pull, why the strokes are the way they are.
Why don't you talk about it?
Well, when you're dealing with a metal nib, if you try to push up with a metal nib, and even with this, you're gonna notice that the pen doesn't wanna do it. So a lot of the strokes, you're always thinking of pulling your stroke instead of pushing your stroke. And that makes the strokes of how to do these, it makes it a lot more sense. For example, with your B, you come around, instead of coming around and going all the way around and making the whole thing, it gives you that foot because you can pull it instead of coming around and pushing it. So,
One thing, and when you are using, you know, the finer metal nibs, sometimes that ink will go, it'll start spraying on you when you start pushing it. When you're pushing, you're just gonna get it.
And then you drop it everywhere.
And then you're really sad because it's usually in your last line what you're working on, and then you wanna cry a lot. And that's my other fun fact is when you get to the point where you're, you know, doing, you know, longer pieces or a piece in general, inevitably, the last 3 letters you're gonna mess up. And it's because you're going too fast, your mindset is like you're at the end, you just need, so when you get to that very end of whatever you're working on, pause and treat it like you're starting your project anew, because I have seen it's happened to me so many times, and it was kind of a funny conversation we've had at the Guild, is that's when all these projects go downhill is in the last little bit, and it's because you get too fast, your mind is moving on to something new. Your head can't help it, but it wants to move on, and you gotta stay vigilant and slow. Okay, now we're gonna do the Y, which is a nice relaxy letter, down, kinda like the U.
Excuse me.
Oh, whoops. And this one does not have serifs on either of them. And it goes down and across, and like the J, you come back in to do that. That is a very crooked Y. I'm gonna start again. So the Y is down. And it really, that's almost too loopy. I've gotta do this right, so we're gonna go down, up, down. And then it's really actually a flatter. This is almost curving too much. And this is probably curving too much too. And the other big recommendation is before you start doing any, I keep making it curve, I don't even know how to make it flat. I'm excited that I'm teaching you the Y wrong 100 times. There we go. That's more like it. See how nice and flat that is? Pay attention to that one. That's the only Y I want you to look at. I was gonna say something else.
Right there, it says pen strokes are push right in the
And then the Z, the one thing that's different about the Z, so if we did, you need to make the angle a little bit flatter,
You have to be careful.
because, hold on,
Because
Z,
it doesn't want to do it.
and then you need to
If you
turn it to make it almost
right now,
flat to go down,
like this, you
and then go back to your 30.
but really it's.
Because otherwise, your crossbar for your Z,
No, she's.
apparently, according to people, this looks too thin
Yeah,
and too,
You may have to just learn to push out it.
too brittle.
That becomes something you treat.
So we're gonna do the Z, and then we're gonna take the pen flat, and then you're going back to your 30 for the bottom.
Yeah.
It ain't right.
Oh, Z's are just evil.
Yeah, that's not right.
It's another, I know, I like using these non,
K's are pretty mean as well.
I know, there's a lot, it depends on the alphabet, some alphabets I really dislike their letters.
He's laughing because my name is Ken.
Oh, and capitals are hard too.
Yes, so once again, we do the 30, and now you're taking it and you're making it flat. And pulling it through, and then back to 30.
Yeah, they're hard. You're making, this is probably a little bit too long. And your pen angle maybe a little bit too.
Now, the one thing I did
The Z's always don't feel
in the
like they
beginning, which was incorrect,
They're so soft
so I need to
around, but these are pointy. You know
show
what I
you
mean?
this, is the L. You would think I'd be smarter than that, but not always. So, we're gonna do our serif again. And the one thing about the L I kind of forgot to tell you was it goes around. So actually, the L in these alphabets has more of a tail. I had it, you guys truncate it, and that is not really correct. And the one thing that's good about that, you don't have to take it over as far, but it helps in letter spacing because you need more space between, with letters with I's and L's and J's, because they're so straight, you need to give them a little more visual space. So the nice thing about pushing this out is that it kind of forces, so when you put another letter next to it, which it shouldn't be touching, but mine is, it reads better. Oops. And see, I made it too thin, and I'm just going back over it. Ha! And you had no idea. Okay, now I'm gonna have everybody stand up and take a bigger break before we go. We're gonna review letters, and then we're gonna write our big sentences.
So far, guys, this is what I do.
It's not really a waster, it's just, okay, A. And then you go straight down, you do your curve, you go straight down and do your little end. And then you're coming around and doing just the bottom half and the top. And again, I kind of started inside. I gotta talk about that when I do it, sorry. We're going down, straight, like that, and we're gonna do a curve here, but I'm starting inside that curve before I pull it, the top one over. Does that make any sense? Or is it just making sense to me?
It makes sense when you do this, just the perfect.
Well, and I can't emphasize enough, it's really cute. So, this one lady up here has been to another foundational class we taught, and so this is her second one, and said that she has gotten so much more out of this one because now she's taken the information she learned the first time, is repeating it with information she's learning now, and so it's really helping ingrain some of the ideas, because you'll walk away going, oh, I remember a fraction of that. Oh, and I've got big news from the library. You get to keep your pen. So thank your library. Pardon? Okay. I thought you were just like, okay. It's okay. Okay, so we're gonna do a little serif. And I want to go through the serif one more time before I get onto this case. So there's that little tiny hook. Now, we're gonna picture an imaginary line. So with your same 30-degree angle, you're matching, because you're matching with this top line, and then pull straight down. There you go. And then I'm also gonna, because you guys can't see my lines as well as I can. And so the K is gonna start inside, and it's just, almost just like a little comma or a quotation. And I can pull it over a little bit further, and then take it from there and pull it straight down and give it a little lift. So again, we're gonna do a serif with our imaginary line. And then around. And then pull it down. Any other letters? Because next I'm going to give you my assignment. Is now you need to write the lazy dog jump, no.
The quick brown fox.
Yeah, how does it, the quick brown fox. Yeah, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. That's it. It's a lot of words, but they're going to use every letter that you just learned. So be thinking, so your T is only going just a little bit above. It's not moving it out. Then we got another serif for that H. about these letters as I'm doing them, or just let you go on your own, since we're never gonna all be on the same letter?
That looks nice.
I haven't really done it here because my paper is, I didn't really send you how much paper I have, but just for your future reference, you should be able, which you can't do it anywhere on mine, but you should be able to put an O between your words. An O width between your words, which I have not done. So do not do as I do as I say. Whoops. Oh my gosh, I must have to redo the whole thing because of an X. Oh my god, that's the worst X I've ever made.
Yeah.
Hey, Susanna,
I wasn't thinking. That's good. Look how good Fox looks.
Well, thank you.
He's quick. He's jumping. He is. He's already jumping the dog. He needs to wait.
I need to draw a fish.
Yes, he needs to wait for the lazy dog.
Oh, well.
We'll just say it.
I think there's money there, but, so when you change the size of the side of your nail, so we need it to be 4, so here as you go. So for this new, this is how high these letters would be. So you know that, so that you can adjust what you're doing to the pending. This is big, generous, round, that also.
It's amazing seeing how everybody's letters have changed since we came in here. It's awesome. Every single one.
For the things about the 3 frames, like in Spanish and Japanese and
Always forget.
no, are you from this area?
Yes.
We're looking to hit lunch after this class. That's a good restaurant.
So you've got all the usual metallics and all of that over there. So, but there's Panera, there's, if
Where
you,
will we come from, please?
So, Southport Road, so if, when you come out of the parking lot, this is
Southport.
Bluff, I think, and then you come up and you're at Southport.
Okay.
Go east on Southport Road, and you're gonna go quite a bit. You're gonna come to 135, which is East Street. I think they call it 135. Then you're gonna cross that, and you'll hit 31.
Oh, okay, so it's all on 31.
And up and down 31. There's all kinds of
Okay,
stuff.
yeah.
And if you get over there, if there's a, I'm trying to think what's right there when you hit 31. You would you would go south. And then you're gonna have Bubba's, and you're gonna have a McAllister's, and you're gonna have, that barbecue place. City Barbecues over there. There's a bunch. And if you go south, there's more.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. You're really close. It looks like you just checked it out.
Hey guys, it's me again. I have finished the class and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I just want to share some little information with you. The calligraphy hand was developed by Edward Johnston in 1872 to 1944. The father of the modern calligraphy, it is based on 10th century English Carolinian hands. Found out, guys, I keep getting tongue-tied. Foundational is rated at a 30-degree angle. It was an amazing class, guys. So if any of you guys are interested in calligraphy, I think you should add that to your life skills of learning how to write and improve your handwriting, because that's what it actually does. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Until the next time I do another class somewhere, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video out to let everybody know Tampa is learning a new skill. Thank you.